Hey everybody, I'm Charlotte McGinnis, and as always, thank you for taking the time to join me either live here on Sunday mornings or at your convenience, which is the beauty of having this Zoom available and all the other social media outlets to get the word out there. Anyway, it is a beautiful day here in Flat Rock. I hope it is where you guys are as well. And I, I've been running back and forth in and out all morning, which inspired, I should say, my talk for today, which is about we reap what we sow. And one of the things that we've sown this week in our yard is new sod. And it looks beautiful, but that requires lots of TLC and running back and forth and moving the sprinklers. So I've already been out there for the past 3 hours or more, moving those sprinklers, but enjoying the beauty of watching it get nice and green and everything that goes with it. So we are going to talk about cause and effect. We reap what we sow. We've all heard that, and lots of other good things. So in the meantime, just want to remind you guys that you can go to my website. CharlotteMcGinnis.com has all of my upcoming events and things that are happening with my personal ministry here. Also, my prayer ministry, you can make any prayer request you choose to make. Just go right there. It's on the homepage. Click the button there, and we'll get the prayer team on it immediately. And yeah, this week, my heart-to-heart guest is Reverend Stacy Turknett. She's a great gal. I'm looking forward to getting to know her a little better myself and sharing her story with you guys. So Wednesdays at 5, always great guests, and really looking forward to that. So, one more thing. If you're interested in joining me, I'm not sure when I'm doing it, but in May, on a Saturday. By the way, next Saturday, Bonnie Barnes Kelly and I are doing our meditation and spiritual travel experience. So that'll be at 3 o'clock next Saturday, that too, on the website, and the links to get there and all that good stuff. But I'm also going to be offering probably the second or third Saturday, an intro to the Course in Miracles, because I know people are wanting to, they're curious and they want to learn more about it. So if you want to learn about where it came from, the metaphysical principles, the background, all sorts of things about the course, it'll be about an hour long. Stay tuned. I'll let you know. So that's all my announcements for today. So I'm going to begin on my talk. And you reap what you sow. So yeah, I've been in the throes of gardening for many weeks now, many months actually. So we just got crazy hair thinking, oh, let's just tear out our entire yard and put in a new one. And that's what we did. And it's been a lot of work, but really looks beautiful and very exciting. But with that, the landscapers do their part, but the taking care of it, keeping it up requires a lot. So it got me thinking, the more I nurture and care for everything that we've planted, right? We're going to reap some beautiful flowers and beautiful grass, and everything is just, the spring. That's what spring's about, is all of this, everything that's been resting is now coming back to life in its full glory and color. So it made me really begin to think, as I was out there watering and putzing around in the plants, that where's my attention? I was really feeling very connected to all of these little plants and every blade of grass, and I'm looking and like, oh, I got to get some more attention over there, and really paying attention, noticing what I was noticing, really, and how peaceful and wonderful it really is to be in the grass, in nature, and really just be at one with Mother Nature, Mother Earth, right? So just a little side thing. You might want to get out and get your feet in the grass and see where that takes you. So a couple of I started thinking about this, and then I'll be honest with you, I was up very early this morning, and like last week, I did not have a title, but after I came in from my first watering, I was like, okay, know what I'm talking about. So all these great thoughts started coming to mind, and I found some great quotes. I wanted to go into the Course in Miracles, a little bit of scripture, and just bring it all together because how powerful our thoughts are. We definitely reap what we sow. So, Charles Reed, sow a thought and you reap an act. Sow an act and you reap a habit. Sow a habit and you reap a character. Sow a character and you reap a destiny. So start with the thoughts and then the actions. And the more we build on conscious co-creation with love or spirit, we reap the benefits of that. And that can come in many different forms and ways. It can come from taking care of your garden, your physical garden, the garden of your soul, what we feed our bodies, both spiritually and physically. You know, the foods we eat have a definite big impact on what we reap, right? So all of these things, but to be present and conscious of everything that we're doing is giving us the life in return. In other words, we reap what we sow. Life is like a boomerang. Our thoughts, deeds, and words return to us sooner or later with astounding accuracy. So yeah, life is a boomerang. So the more every thought has an effect. We're going to talk about that more when we get into the Course of Miracles here in a few minutes. But our thoughts are things. We're in this vibrational quantum field, or quantum soup, as I call it. And every thought has an emotion attached to it. And with that, it is our thoughts create, right? Because they're creating feelings and a vibration, and thus making things appear real. So if you want to know where your collective consciousness is, look at your life, right? And sometimes, when you look at it, it's like, how the heck did I ever create that? Or why would I have brought that into my life? And sometimes it's kind of like, yuck. But I do have to, once I get past the little with it, I do know that everything is for my best interest. Everything is an opportunity for learning and teaching me something. And then it's not so painful. It's kind of like, okay, there's a lesson here. What am I supposed to learn? And we just have to really be careful. Once we are aware of the power of our thoughts or our garden, which I would say our life is our garden, right? So we have to be careful what we're feeding our garden or our life. So what's the number one thing we can do? Radiate and give love, because it's really all about love in the end. And love is a feeling. God is love. I mean, if people always say, if you could say what God is in one word, what would that be? Well, love. So we radiate our God selves, and that's what comes back. What we sow, what we put out is what we reap. So we have to continually pay attention. So from scripture, from Galatians, I want to share, I always try to find or choose to find that which supports what I'm talking about, the topic, in many different ways, so that you can see that there are many ways to say the same thing. And so I'm going to bring in a few quotes from scripture from the Bible. And it says in Galatians, "Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows." This verse reminds us that our actions and our thoughts have consequences. If we sow good seeds, we will reap blessings. But if we sow evil or ego seeds, we will reap destruction or fear. God, in his justice, ensures what we sow will be what we ultimately harvest. This verse also tells us against trying to deceive or mock God, because God sees our true intentions and will not be fooled. So I think that, the language of that is a little like intense, God will not be mocked. But, it's the God is really the energy within us. And to take, I think that what this is saying, don't be deceived. God cannot be mocked. Truth cannot be mocked. We reap what we sow. So ultimately, we harvest what we put out there. So, when we take what I take this quote to mean for me is that I am responsible and that there's no way to fool God. And what is God? The divine mind, divine intelligence, our highest state of awareness and being. So yeah, we do reap what we sow, and don't think we're going to get by with anything. And I definitely realize that in my own life, that I am responsible for the world I see. And because of that quote and other quotes similar to that, a lot of people get into A Course in Miracles and they're like, yeah, I don't like that. I'm not, I didn't create that or whatever. And well, it's just, I think that as we grow spiritually, you begin to recognize that we are responsible. We do have more power than we ever imagined, and to watch what thoughts we're putting out there. Proverbs, whoever sows injustice reaps calamity, and the rod they wield in a fury will be broken. This proverb illustrates the consequences of sowing injustice and harm towards others. It emphasizes that selfish acts of injustice will ultimately lead to calamity and destruction in one's life. Furthermore, it suggests that those who wield cruelty and anger as a means of control will ultimately find themselves broken by their own actions. This verse serves as a reminder to treat others with fair and kindness, knowing that our actions will have an impact on our own lives. And this one particularly speaks true to me. There is, without going into detail, a situation that is very, by my ego's judgment, unjust. And as a result of that, it's been a challenge, an opportunity, right, to really rise above the battleground, to recognize that I only have to engage if I choose to. And it's been very difficult because it continues to go on and on and on and on. But I just look at this as, yes, this is a promise that truth or justice will prevail. But what my role is to let go and surrender to God and be led to the highest good for everybody. And I don't know what that looks like. And sometimes that's not easy. I know we all feel that we've been treated unjustly in some way, shape, and form. But I think this is a call. I really believe that sometimes, often, when we make that commitment to walk in the light, that everything unlike love or light will come up for healing, right? It has to, because if it exists within us and we want to be in the light, we want to be self-realized, we want to wake up from the dream, then we have to release and relinquish everything unlike love. And boy, oh boy, does it come up. It's an opportunity and a blessing, right? So on to the Course in Miracles. In chapter 2, there is a section called the separation and the atonement, otherwise known as at-one-ment. At-one-ment is when I and my Father, I and love are one, recognizing that there is nothing out here, but all that matters is my connection to Source, and all that matters is love. So the separation and the at-one-ment, otherwise known as cause and effect. So I'm going to read this because I think there's so much really good stuff here. And it starts out by saying, you may still complain about fear, but you nevertheless persist in making yourself fearful. And this is Jesus speaking to us. I have already indicated that you cannot ask me to release you from fear. I know it doesn't exist, but you do not. If I intervened between your thoughts and their results, I would be tampering with the basic law of cause and effect, the most fundamental cause there is. I would hardly help you if I depreciated the power of your own thinking. This would be in direct opposition to the purpose of A Course in Miracles. It is much more helpful to remind you you do not guard your thoughts carefully enough. You may feel at this point it would take a miracle to enable you to do this, which is perfectly true, because you are not used to miracle-minded thinking. But you can be trained to think that way. All miracle workers need that kind of training. So what is this saying? That, well, the Course in Miracles has been described as a course in mind training. You know, we're so programmed by our subconscious, by our environment, by where we grew up, by our education, by religion, by the media. All of these programs externally get into our subconscious, unconscious mind. And that's really what drives the ship until we say, oops, no, I've got to sort of put a new, I think I've mentioned this before, when I was learning the course, that was when VHS, take out the VHS and put in a new tape, right? That's what this is about. We really need to train ourselves to think with love and take responsibility. Jesus goes on to say, I cannot let you leave your mind unguarded or you will not be able to help me. Miracle working entails a full realization of the power of thought in order to avoid miscreation. Otherwise, a miracle will be necessary to set the mind itself straight, a circular process that would not foster time, the collapse of time for which the miracle was intended. The miracle worker must have genuine respect for true cause and effect as a necessary condition for the miracle to occur. So I look at that as the hamster wheel, you know, or karma. And so, you know, the hamster just keeps running around the wheel, doesn't really get anywhere. We just keep playing the same patterns and tapes over and over and over, right? Well, the miracle is like that shift, like, okay, what do they say, shift or get off the pot? But anyway, that being said, we have to, the shift in perception is meaning, oh, I can choose another way. This is a pattern that doesn't serve me. Oh, I am projecting fear into the quantum here. I choose another way. Holy Spirit, show me how to choose love over fear. I'm caught up in this pattern again. The shift from fear to love is the miracle. And we have to remember that miracles and fear come from thoughts. So we're free to choose one. If we choose the miracle, we reject fear, even if it's temporary. So, because every moment, you know, I think we've heard over the years, many of us have heard, I remember this when I heard it years and years ago, is that we have somewhere around 100,000 thoughts a day. And most of those are just those tapes of subconscious programming playing over and over and over and over. And that's what we sort of abide and live by. And that's basically other people's thoughts and beliefs that we've taken on as our own. And we're guided by that, thinking that's a good thing. And all those thoughts, every moment, I mean, when you get into the intensity of really every moment throughout the day, every thought is either one that unites and heals or divides and separates and perpetuates more fear. So we're constantly, as this section says, we need to guard our thoughts. We need to choose love over fear, hence the miracle. And we do that moment by moment. And if you choose 1,000 times a day, fear, so be it. Because right now is all there is. All your past, except its beauty, is gone. All the cruddy things of the past that we have, you know, beat ourselves up for or what have you, can be forgiven, released, and move on. That's the only way we're really going to wake up to our divinity, our truth of who we are, when we let go of the baggage of judgment of self and others. And as we've talked about also in the past, that those who see themselves as whole make no demands. So in other words, I don't, the more awake I am, the more aware I am, then I don't need anything in my external world to be any different. I can just watch it like a movie. I don't get emotionally sucked in. I don't get upset. It's a practice, and sometimes I do really good, and I know sometimes you all do really good with this, right? And then some days not so good, right? And that's okay. Just the main thing I believe is the recognition and the desire, the recognition of when we are in fear and the desire to shift from fear to love. So yes, it is a practice. 100,000 thoughts a day, give or take a few thousand. But what is dominating that, as I forgot to add to that little tag there a minute ago, and 99.9% of those thoughts are the thoughts that we carry in from yesterday. So we are a product of our programming. And so but the good news is, once we recognize that, we do have another way to be in this world, if we choose to do so. That's the miracle. Joel Osteen, one of my favorites, he says, will reap what we sow. When we do good for other people, that's when God is going to make sure his abundant blessings overtake you. So I've often heard it said, we can't outgive God. It's I believe that the more trusting we are, the more connected we are to source, the more aware we are, we become more generous. Because we understand giving and receiving are one in truth. You understand that when I'm generous and generous in many ways, in my gifts, in my love, in my encouragement, in my money, in whatever I have, then the universe continually blesses us. So don't step on the hose, right? Often people will say, "Oh no, Charlotte, you're too generous. Let me give you some money or whatever." And sometimes whatever, it's every case is different, right? Or let me give you something back, or you don't have to do that, or what have you. But that being said, I'm like, no, don't step on my hose, my abundance hose, right? So I also recognize, I'll put in a plug, that sometimes it's interesting because I'm grateful to be able to offer my ministry as a gift from me to you, and have been doing this for years. And currently, I've accrued quite a few expenses to update some things and move some things. And if you feel like making a donation towards that, that is fine and dandy. And if you don't, that's fine and dandy too. You can do that on my website. So, and many of you have already stepped up and done that, and I'm very grateful and appreciate that. And yeah, but either way, it's all good. So we need to recognize the seeds that we're planting, the seeds in our consciousness. Are these seeds seeds that I'm going to nurture and grow into something that is useful, kind, loving, bright light, right? Or is it going to perpetuate? Am I planting the seeds of fear and judgment? So that's what our life is really showing us. I mean, that's what we talk about. The life is reflecting back to us that which we've projected upon it, what seeds we've planted, how we fed it, and what we've projected onto the world. So it's an opportunity to say, oh, I think I want to ship that new tape, take that tape out, plug in a new tape, right? And that's all it is. Don't get caught up into the judgment, because that's another hook and oh God, I'm so awful or whatever. Now that's a hook, and that'll keep us stuck in that as well. It's a recognition. Thank you for sharing, and move on. So Joseph Murphy, who is a big teacher, he wrote the book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. Great teacher. And he goes on to say, as you sow in your subconscious mind, so shall you reap in your body and environment. So we really have to get to the subconscious, the unconscious. And one thing I find very helpful First of all, I think that there's many things we can do, right? But the recognition, I believe, and the desire to change from fear to love, that's huge. And so the more, it's kind of like the more I choose love over fear, I just flush out the fear. That's one way to do it. There's also many videos, YouTube, that you can go to bed with. They're black screen and they're subconscious programs for healing, for prosperity, for relationships, for peace, whatever it is. And you just go to bed with those and they play into your ear. They're very relaxing with nice music. And they're doing their work and you don't even have to do anything. So there's lots of things we can do. Well, as you know, one of my favorite uh, poets, Rumi, he just says everything so concisely and beautifully. And he says, in this earth, in this soil, in this pure field, let's not plant any seeds other than seeds of compassion and love. So, it's just stop it, right? Remember that on Carol Burnett, I think, or was it Bob Newhart? I think it was on. It doesn't matter. He was a therapist. You all might have seen this, and someone comes to him for therapy, and he's just like, "Well, I got the answer. Just stop it." Well, what about that? Just stop it. And I think that now I can laugh at that because we feel like the old model, in other words, like, oh, I got to go back to when I was 4 years old or when I was 22 or 38 or whatever. And these things happen and I got to pick it apart and analyze it and this and that. When ultimately, the more in my mind, I recognize that that does have purpose and value. And if that's where people are, that's certainly awesome. And thank God for the therapist out there. Of course, they do awesome work. But I do believe ultimately, when we sort of recognize, not sort of, when we do recognize the power of our ability to create and miscreate, we don't have to entertain or live in the past anymore. Right here, right now, all is well. And if I just keep pulling myself back to the present, I'm training myself to be in a whole different place. I don't have to be a victim of the past anymore. I don't have to hold grievances and judgments anymore. So if we don't like what we're reaping, change in this moment what we're sowing. And as Rumi says, just sow 2 seeds, and those are the seeds of compassion and love. So what we do today is what I do in this moment is what I carry into the next moment and the next moment and the next moment. All your past, except its beauty, is gone, and all that remains is a blessing. God, Joyce Meyer, you got to love her. God wants to use us to make each other happy. And the happier we make others, the happier we'll be because we reap what we sow, right? Just another way to say it. And so what can you do? We talk about kindness, little acts of kindness. What can you do to make others happy in this moment? A word of kindness, bake a cake, whatever it is. There's a lot we can do to sprinkle a little more sunshine into the world, because what we're giving to others is really not only a blessing to them, but it's a blessing to us, because giving and receiving are one in the truth. So I think that, it's not easy. It is easy, but it's not easy to do this, right? But we have to understand that I feel we make things way more difficult than we need to make them. We don't have to figure things out, to analyze, overthink things. That's the ego mind that has to have answers. In other words, the ego is always looking for a reason and an answer. And our spiritual self, our higher self, is accepting of what is. It is what it is. So we have to recognize that every choice I make in this moment, if I want to change my life, I have to change the way I think and what I choose in every moment, choosing love or fear. And if we're not planting the seeds of love, if we're not, in other words, if we're not seeing in our external expression of life, that which is what we think we want or what we choose. And ultimately, I'll take this a step further. It's just thy will be done. I don't, and to trust that process and just plant those seeds of love and kindness and surrender to the greater good, whatever that is. So our mind is a garden. The more good we do, the more good will follow us. And we always reap what we're sowing. Every thought has an effect, right? So there's not really a shortcut to this. It's just a practice, an acceptance, a decision, and a desire to be more godlike, more loving, more kind, more abundant, healthier. And so, what seeds are you planting in your garden? I'm going to close with this comment. Be a reflection of what you'd like to see in others. If you want love, give love. If you want honesty, give honesty. If you want respect, give respect. You get in return what you give. So, sow some good seeds, everybody. I'm going to run back out and move around the hoses some more. We're having our Namaste family gathering. Any of you locals want to come join us in Flat Rock at 2:00? We're going to have bingo, pizza, and share our Eclipse experiences. It should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to seeing everybody. Meantime, see you when I see you. Go to my website, check it out. Many blessings. Namaste. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.